So my sister painted a picture on a piece of cardboard and she wants it framed. I have all the dimensions and the design for the frame already done in AutoCAD, which you don't necessarily need to do it in AutoCAD. But for me, the reason I always design things in AutoCAD is because it helps me minimize mistakes. And so all I need to do now is grab the material and get started. Before I slice these bad boys in half, or at least this one in half and the other to width, I am going to make sure I'm working with straight edges, and instead of using a joiner, I'm just going to make sure I put the edge that's opposite the bowed edge against the fence to make sure this edge is flat. Alright, I really wanted 3.5 inches, but since it's a picture frame, the dimensions are really give and take. So I'm really just going to maximize my material and cut this to about half of what it is now. It's about 5 3/8. So with an 1/8 inch saw blade. Alright, let's play it safe and do 2 5/8. I probably would be better off if I threw scrap like this away, but I just can't bring myself to do it. I'll probably glue it back together or something and do something with it. It's just who I am as a person and a maker. Sadly, this shoot had to go into a second day, so here I am on my second day of filming for this project, and I think the rough dimensions are pretty good. Something else I want to say before I continue the project: when I'm looking for material, it's always about minimizing scrap, but then once I actually start the project, it's all about maximizing scrap. So that's just, when you watch me cut these, it's just what's going to happen going forward. Also, yes, I did glue that scrap back together. Next step is to cut this little inlet here for where the picture's going to sit. And so I have everything set, labeled, and ready to go. Just to minimize mistakes, I labeled everything, which side is front, and then I also put an arrow to which side is the inside. And the inlet for the frame is going to go on this side. So when I run through the saw, this side will be pointing to the blade. I decided to just flip it and I'll cut the scrap off. You'll see what I'm talking about in a second. It's always about maximizing the size of your scrap once you start cutting. Alright, that step is done. Now on to cutting the miters. Alright, so the problem was that the 45-degree indicator on my miter saw, it was too wide, so I had to narrow it a little bit. Kind of hard to tell. But after doing some tweaking and doing some fits for about 10 minutes, I think I'm as close as I'm gonna get it to being a perfect miter. And honestly, I'm very happy with that. So most of the time when I make frames, I just join the miters with biscuits and a lot of glue. And so that means the next step is to take a biscuit joiner and cut all of the holes for said biscuits. I've already taken the time to mark the center points on all of my miters. So that way all I have to do is line it up with the jig on the biscuit cutter and just cut away. Obviously I can't go much thinner for the width of the frame, because otherwise the biscuit joiner would cut a mark in the end. So keep that in mind. These are about 2 3/8 inches wide. Somehow we've made it into a third day of shooting for this.
I mean, when you only have half an hour to 45 minutes in the shop per day, I guess that's kind of what happens. So this is the frame. It came out pretty well in the glue up. I've already started the next step, which is adding some detail. Now, I don't have any fancy router bits or anything like that, so I can't really do anything really fancy. I can just do some table saw tricks. And I've already started on the first one, which is just a taper down to the straight edge. And I messed up on the first one, and I did it too sharp. And you see I got a hole there now, because that's a hole from the biscuit joiner. So I'm just going to fill that in with wood filler, and it actually happened on both sides. Oop, wrong side. Actually happened on both sides, so I'm just going to fill that in, and I'm just going to paint it, so I don't really care what filler I put in there. It could be white, could be yellow, could be black. It's just whatever filler works. So I'm going to do the 2 remaining sides, and then do some more detail work.
The last of the detail work I wanted to do on the frame was to split up each side into 3 separate segments. This just creates some visual interest that you can do with the table saw. By doing this, it also creates a little square in each corner, which, like I said, adds visual interest. I did this by raising the blade until I was about halfway through the thickness of the frame, and then I ran each side through the table saw, and then I just cleaned it up with a chisel and some sanding. In order to mount the picture inside the frame, I drilled holes approximately 3 to 4 inches apart. These holes were drilled slightly larger than the nails that I used, which were finish nails. These nails were approximately somewhere between 2 to 3 inches long. Since the picture I'm using is a painting, I didn't need any plexiglass or acrylic or any other form of clear plastic to protect the painting. After doing this, I finished the painting with some finish sanding and then began to finish it with some primer, and then I'm going to paint it.